So coming up with the mechanisms for other ways of doing things for other people to pick up the training, for giving other opportunities to other staff of the union as well. So there's a lot of possibilities there, and this has given us more impetus to kind of get some of those things going where they sort of get dropped aside when something else comes up. Taking up Eileen's point that we do tend to lurch from bargaining to bargaining, and included in that is that we fall down on enforcement of what we win in bargaining. And it seems to me this is a very tragic circumstance when we're entering into a round of bargaining where the employers are actually getting their act together. Damn it, we had many years where they didn't do a good job of that. And so what they're attacking are things that we've won, but which in some cases we have not enforced. And that includes in insecure work fixed termers particularly, fixed term contracts where we have conversion clauses and we haven't actually found every breach and dealt with it. There are a lot of clauses, again, in our agreements around casual rights as well as the attempts we've made as a conversion and creating jobs. They vary in the different agreements. What we have to make work and not lose it, but then we have to add to it. And so, that has to be critical to our agenda. The issue of insecure work, we cannot pretend it is not the biggest issue we have. I showed you stark statistics before. That's not the first time that I've shown those statistics. I've been going on about them for a long time. That everybody isn't aware of them, I think, shows that we haven't got the message across. So people are still very much stuck in their personal circumstance and how that's working and not working for them, when there is a lot more around it. And in your latest copy of Advocate, once you get past the Vice-Chancellors, there is the article on the new Secure Work campaign the executives endorsed, so a medium-term campaign. And for those that are interested, it also includes the teaching and research academics. Your MOVE, the MOVE is disappearing. So that's what makes it particularly difficult. I'll also draw your attention to the next edition of Connect, which goes to our casual casual staff that are members of the union. There's an article, I think you'll want it like his, by Teresa Petre from James Cook, who has written an article on why I stand with casuals. A nice pivotal, this is why I do this, which I suggest it's now on the website too. If you just go to the first page where we pull all the articles out of the latest publications, look for it and read it. And I want every academic who has a more secure position to read that and think about where they stand. Because the only way we'll win is on sticking together. And it's sort of it's basic why we have unions. It's about being a collective, about standing up for one another. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. I think and that raises the issue of whether it's good for your career or not, being part of, being active in the union, being a delegate and so on. I've reminded of the importance, and I agree, of role models. Ray Francis, who Eileen will know of, and as well, Ray Francis is the Dean of Arts at ANU now. She's come from being the Dean of Arts at Monash. Ray has kept on her bio, on her university page, that she was the president of her union branch when she was at UNSW. She keeps that there as career highlights. I've got this award, I've got that award, I was a branch president. That's the sort of thing that we must make the normal and expected thing again, instead of people not owning up to being a member, or worse still, not being a member. So, that we don't need research on is it a good or bad thing for your career to be a member, because what we fall into is that a bad experience everybody listens to. That nothing happened, we don't listen to, but even more importantly, we don't often listen to when the experience of becoming more active and involved in the union, whether it's on a branch level or at a broader level, whether it's within one's own faculty, speaking up in one's own meetings, standing for the academic boards and so on, and then speaking up, and management knowing that you have a union perspective. We also know that in so many cases that is an advantage. It doesn't hold your career back, partly because all the skills you learn and that you're so well connected can't go against career advancement when you know who everyone is and where they are and they know who you are. But it only works if, of course, you're supported. If, of course, you're talking with your colleagues about what you're doing and the positions you're standing up for, so union colleagues, but also the colleagues in your workplace, in your particular units and so on. Know when you're speaking up with and for. And I think that's the big issue. It's when you're out there on your own and nobody knows that things can work against you. But that is not the case for casuals and fixed term, and particularly for casuals. Casuals are very, very vulnerable. Although, again, what we've found with casual activists when they've got organised in the union is that, again, often you're in that position of you know more, so you're in a better position when you try and apply for something and try and seek conversion and so on. So, coming back to advocate, Jeannie's story, fixed term, some of you probably looked at the video, years and years at TasUni and working as a professional staffer in the labs. Since this story's gone out there on social media, others are coming forward too and saying, I'm in this situation, I'm even at UTAS, hey, I think we'd better act on this, where they're in the middle of bargaining. Yeah, it's a moment. So I think it's a part of create the environment. Create the support. Solidarity, I know we talked about language and some language may not be appropriate, but solidarity, the notion of if we hang together and try and do things, we're more likely to succeed, pretty basic. It's just hard to remember as we're each going around trying to get on with all the things going on in our jobs, in our lives and everything all around it. So I say to you, we've got elections coming up in May, the SUP elections I mentioned before, so there may well be some positions vacant at the moment on your committees. I'm not totally sure. As I said, I need to check. We do need to be a bit more, explain a bit more about what all these things do involve, which is on our agenda. What I say is that we do have Blue Stocking Week, of course, which is we force that. I say because we wanted space, because it was hard to talk about things. Feminism going on in here, I think you said earlier. So let's use that. Yeah, think about how you can utilise that week within the workplace. We do. I wrote an article in this latest Advocate around International Women's Day, where I actually reminded that all women demanded a century ago was some rights and world peace, and I think that's still obviously our duty to do that. So good luck with the mentoring program, and thank you to all the people who organised today and for all of you for coming along. And from the National Union, we need to thank the women and the supportive blokes, but the women of South Australia who, as Janet and Suzanne said, have a really strong position of showing up the rest of the country, so go for it.